Hi everybody, Kat here. It's Friday morning. More Canadians than ever are realizing that they're stuck in the middle of a captured operation. Welcome to the Gulag. Canada is broken, and in a bad way. There's so much going on here that you can just see things spiraling out of control, and the earth just sliding out from under you. It's been very apparent since Trudeau has been in office. It's been, just in your face since the whole round the world infection, and the aftermath of that, and the way that Trudeau responded to absolutely legal, absolutely calm and peaceful protests. February 2 years ago in Ottawa, the Freedom Convoy, it was a protest against the vaccination that were, although not quote unquote mandatory, they weren't going to hold you down in the street and do that to you, but really you were compelled, because as Canadians we were in a situation where if we did not comply and go ahead with that medical intervention, we would be subject to a ban from traveling, from flying, lots of people lost their jobs. It was quite something. I was one of the people that wasn't going to go along with it at all, and I didn't. And I mean, the way Trudeau spoke about people that opposed his policy, which, we elect them. We're supposed to be allowed to voice our opinions. It's supposedly a free country with freedom of speech. Well, folks, it isn't. The way Trudeau characterized people that did not like his policies. He called us misogynists. He called us racist. He called us conspiracy theorists and lunatics and a danger to the population, and that we should be, shunned like lepers. We didn't deserve any attention. We were that bad. Anybody who opposes him, and he still treats the public like that. It's no wonder that just about everywhere he goes and makes an appearance for whatever reason, that he's booed. So the press coverage of him actually, doing events and things is very edited, very, they don't want you to see him being booed everywhere, but you hear about it. And those videos do surface. He is absolutely the most divisive of prime ministers. He, in his early days, voiced admiration for China's communist government. You can find that online, just Google it. And he said, I kind of like the way that they want to get something done. They can just do it. They don't have to consult anybody, That's a good advantage of a communist government, and this is the way that Trudeau has basically been running the show, and it's bloody frightening. Up here, for example, if you offend one of the alphabet people by using the wrong pronoun, whether you were aware of this or not, that's basically considered a hate crime. You can be censured at work for, what they consider, real insulting behavior when, it's nothing. Everybody's so sensitive, and the government has taken the tack that, they're trying to be so inclusive. Everybody matters. Well, everybody matters as long as you agree with everything that they do. If you don't, then you don't matter. And man, you are out in the cold. And it's how that's how they're basically trying to run the program here in Canada. If you're not part of the pack, they shun you. You're the opposition. You're the lunatic. They really, the government up here is really trying to work to keep people apart, to keep people from talking. It's really hard to have, a public discussion or a discussion online or within a group of people or in a public place. If you voice an opinion that or a comment or a thought that isn't the party line, the way things, social and political issues have been driven up here, if you don't parrot back the party line, if you have a different opinion, and you can see through the hypocrisy from everything from the treatment of, special interest treatment, let's just call it that, to things like climate change, carbon tax, single-use plastic, the whole shebang, political ideology, homelessness, and, everything that's wrong with everything. If you have an opinion that is contrary to the social construct they're trying to push, you're considered an enemy of the state up here. You don't sit in a pub or sit in a cafe or, out in the street. You don't chat with people about these things. It's only just starting to happen. And because, since COVID too, they really kept us apart. And here in Canada, for the better part of 2 years, you had almost no contact with anybody. So by the time we were able to take the masks off and go out in public again, people had so much fear in them and so much intimidation that they're only just starting to talk now. And what I've found, in the last couple of weeks, wherever I've been, grocery store, other public places, and the odd time somebody will just come up to you and start a conversation. Usually it's another woman about my age, and they'll just strike something up and say, hey, did you hear about whatever? Just a little intro. And if you're connected and you understand what's going on in the world, you instantly recognize here's a person that's trying to connect, because we're not allowed to talk to each other up here anymore. And so you do. And you learn things and you share things from, oh, gee, did you take the intervention? Oh, gee, did you hear of them? They're trying to ban this medication. Oh, gee, what do you think about the government's attitude towards the internet and what news Canadians are allowed to see or not? All of it, you get a little comment about something. Or, gee, hey, I have this chronic thing, but you know what I've been doing? And they'll tell you, whatever it is. It's basically what's happening is in quiet moments in corners of stores, people are going, hey, do you know about this? and you have a quick 5-minute conversation, go on your way. And you know what it reminds me of? When I was in high school, we studied Russia in our social studies class and what was going on. And before the Russian Revolution, I mean, things were, actually, this was in about the 50s, I think. Okay, Cold War-ish times. And Russia was huge on propaganda. The people of Russia were really locked down at that time. They weren't getting international news. All they were getting was the state news. And even though they knew something was wrong, you couldn't talk to anybody about it, because there's always going to be, if you talk to one person in your apartment building, there's a snitch in that apartment building that for a bribe will turn you in. You go to the Gulag, they get protected for another day. I mean, this was the kind of society it was happening in Russia at the time of Solzhenitsyn and the Gulags and the oppression of the people, and the way that their secret police at the time would just pull people out of their home. I mean, very much George Orwell, 1984, the novel. And I mean, here in Canada, we're kind of living that. We're living that. You have quiet conversation in the corner of stores with people and connect for a couple minutes and say, oh my God, well, we know, statistically there's more of us than them, but I mean, this is the only way we can communicate now about what's really going on. Those of us that know what's really going on, and you'd be surprised the amount of people that have no clue, no idea. They've never heard of the World Economic Forum. They've never heard of any situations how these things can have false flag, all the things, all the terms that they, say are conspiracy theories and stuff. Most people have no clue. They can't look beyond their own little world. And especially the young ones, they don't have the critical skills, the critical thinking skills to kind of suss out what's going on around them and make sense of it. They can't think. School, I mean, not just in Canada, all over, really is just an institution of indoctrination towards a social push that they want to progress, really. They're not teaching the kids really much at all. And I mean, up here, they're, obsessed with the alphabet people. Everybody's got to be considered. And the gender people, everybody's got to be considered. Yet the teen-on-teen crime in high schools is just appalling up here. I mean, it's quiet right now because kids aren't in school. They go back in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think, just after Labor Day. We've had stabbings in schools, and I mean, all kinds of terrible things. And that's when school's in session. Up here, they really like to strike a lot. And they're already starting to huff and puff a little bit that, gee, we might be on strike by October. They do this every year. I mean, Canada is broken. Nothing works here. The healthcare system is just a joke. I mean, I hear a lot about the NHS and Britain and the healthcare system and how bad it is over there. We're not much different. Not a lot of successful outcomes. Horrendous wait times. There is one thing. There's one thing under the healthcare umbrella that Canada is number one in the world for, though. Guess what it is? Assisted dying. Medically induced assisted dying. MAID is the acronym they call it here. You're depressed, you're sick, you're frustrated, we'll kill you. We'll solve your problem. We can't give you any social funding because, of course, that's all going to the immigrants. So as a Canadian and you're having medical issues or something, well, we can't subsidize you. We can't help you. But we'll kill you, if you want. Just a little jab in the arm and all your problems are over. I mean, it's outrageous. We're number one in the world for assisted dying in Canada. And they want to expand the parameters of whom they're allowed to kill. Make it pretty. If you're having a bad, soon it's going to be, if you're having a bad day, So, yeah, they'd rather kill you than care for you. They don't want you talking to each other. It's turning out to what happened in Russia during that time. I mean, the state news was lying to everybody. Knew they were lying. They weren't getting news from the outside world, much as Canada's new internet law is disallowing news from other countries to come in unless they pay a tariff. So what would happen when the news was on at night? This is in Moscow, and they called it the dog walking hour. When the state news came on, like 6 o'clock in the evening, everybody knew that they were being lied to. Nobody trusted the news. Everybody would take their dogs and go for a walk. Everybody was out with their animals. And when you're out for a walk in the evening, people stop and talk to each other on the street. And this is how word spread, and this is how people started to get an understanding of what was really going on. And it's frightening as fuck. That's what's happening in Canada now, Back of the aisle at the grocery store, and somebody's like, hey, do you know about this? Did you hear about that? And you have a quiet little hush conversation for a couple of minutes, and you end up by saying, oh my God, it is so good to talk to somebody that knows what's going on. And keep it up, keep talking, keep spreading the information. That's what it is in Canada now. Canada is broken. I don't know what it's going to take to turn it around, but you know what? Britain, Australia, all the first world Commonwealth countries, they are, and I've said it before, they're the testing case for this sort of new world order, complete takeover and control of humankind, and it's going on. And somehow we got to get ourselves out of this. Hope you liked this video. Hope it was thought-provoking. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Like and subscribe, and let's keep this conversation going. Have a good day, everybody.